If you are in your pre-Underworld Persephone archetype, then you're just gonna be a pick-me. Hello, my lovely ladies. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. My name is Isabel, and in this video, I am going to be speaking to you single ladies. And when I mean single, I mean not married. If you are in a relationship, you're technically single in my book, and legally you are still technically single. So that is who I am speaking to. Not that married women shouldn't listen to this message, because I think it is universal, but I think it's important that before you get married that you hear this message that I have for you. So let's get into it. So some of you have been with me for a while on this channel, and thank you so much for being here and continuing to support and learn from what I have to share with you. So I really appreciate that. And if you are one of those people, you know I speak so much about this specific book right here. This is Goddesses in Every Woman, A New Psychology of Woman. This is by Dr. Jean Shinoda Bolin. Sorry if I botched her name. I am so fascinated by this book. I feel like it is actually very helpful to women, and I wanted to take a part of the book that I found to be the most profound and really eye-opening about our journey as a woman. This book speaks about the goddesses, and specifically the Greek goddesses. Now, if you are familiar with the Greek goddesses, you know Hera, Athena, Demeter, Artemis, Hestia. These are all of the Greek goddesses. You have Aphrodite, and it speaks about the archetypes of these goddesses that we have within ourselves and how they show up in our lives. And one of the archetypes that I wanted to speak about, because I feel like this is just very prevalent and something that a lot of women really embody, and that is the archetype of Persephone. Now, Persephone isn't necessarily a goddess, but she is the daughter of Demeter, and we all have heard of her story with Hades in the Underworld. And if you haven't, please check that out, because this is not, for me to go dive deep into that. What I really wanted to talk about is who Persephone was before the Underworld and who she became after the Underworld, and how I feel like that is where a lot of women are at in their lives, where they are in the pre-Underworld stage of their life. And a lot of women need to, go through the Underworld, their inner world, and, dig deep, go into the dark places, the painful places, the hurt places, the childhood trauma, so they can come out on the other end and be really self-actualized and self-realized. And I think that's an important transition that needs to happen before you go attaching yourself to a man. So I want to describe what it's like to embody the pre-Underworld Persephone. Pre-Underworld Persephone archetype is a woman who is what we call a pick-me, right? This is a woman who is very male-centered, who will configure herself to fit whatever it is that the man or the men in her life want her to be. She will be a woman who is very girly if that's what the man desires. If the man desires her to not wear makeup and be very homely, that's what she will become. She won't really have her own personality. She won't really know how to articulate who she is, what she's about. She just kind of goes with what the man in her life or the men in her life want for her to be. Now, that kind of woman is what we call a pick-me. The reason why you don't want to be in this pick-me energy, in this Persephone pre-Underworld archetype energy, is this archetype doesn't actually know who she is, doesn't even know what she actually wants in life. What she has done is attached herself to the man or the men in her life who she likes, she loves, she respects, and just holds up the identity that they give for her. And that could be a man, that can be women, that can be parents, that could be just the society and the community around them. They just hold themselves to what everybody everybody else's expectation is, and they don't really get to figure out what it is and they actually want for themselves. It's just basically like you say do this and they say this. Okay, fine. When women come to me to asking me about a man, asking me about how they can do this or that, I always turn the question back to them to what do you actually want? And that is sometimes, most of the time, met with generic responses. I always get the answer of, if I ask, what kind of man do you want? Oh, I want a provider. I want a protector. I want a man who is, God-centered. I want a man who, is going to do, like, name out the generic things every single person says. That's the response you always get. And that is when I always know that you are in your Underworld Persephone archetype. And I think it's important not to demonize that, but to know where you're at. And for me, I don't really think that relationship is really truly what you need. And what you actually need is time with yourself, really getting close to your intuition, finding out what is truly motivating you, and feeling the feelings of being alone and what that truly means and what that truly feels like. Because if you spend your life, especially your adult life, attaching yourself to a man, to kids, to all of this stuff, you'll never get to know who you are. And that is something that I always understood about life, is the reason why I didn't marry until I was in my 30s, and I didn't have children until I'm now in my 30s, is because I wanted to actually get to know who I was. I wanted to do the inner work before I added anybody into my life, because something about me was, I was always the type of person who was going to beat to my own drum. I was always going to turn down things that other people may think were great, but for me and my true self, I knew it wasn't for me. And the reason why I knew these things weren't for me is because I always listened to my intuition. And so many women have basically drowned out their own intuition and allowed other people's voices to speak louder than their intuition. And the funny thing about your intuition is, the more that you listen to it, the louder it becomes. So then the opposite is true. The more you don't listen to it, the slower and lower and lower the voice becomes, until you just can't hear it anymore. And if you're at that point where you really can't hear your intuition, you don't know what you want, you don't really have an opinion on anything, that's when you need solitude. That's when you need to go in. You don't need other people's opinion to come in and really disturb you from hearing what you truly need to hear about yourself, about what you want, about who you are and where you're going. Because if you do that, if you actually listen, you will see that you're truly in control. You are the director of your own life. Whatever you are experiencing in life, yes, there are circumstances you can't control, but you can control how you deal with them, how you look at them, how you perceive them. If you take that and you really truly see, like, I am in more control than I am not, then life becomes a little more easier. Life becomes a little more better, but you have to get through the dark part. You have to get to the underworld first. And so when we think about Persephone's journey, pre-underworld, she was under the thumb of her mother, right? Demeter basically was like, this is my daughter, she's perfect, she does this, like whatever her mother wanted of her, that is what she did. When she got into the underworld, she has to face, deeper parts of herself, of who she was, what she was about, what she wanted out of life, right? And when she came out of the underworld with a piece of her still there, because she ate the pomegranate and all that stuff, but what that actually means, not just the story, because I like to look at these stories as something deeper, is like, when you come out of this seclusion and this hermit mode and this, in this darkness of yourself, in the deep, the dark, the intimate parts of yourself, and you come back out into the real world, you start dating and building friendships and building your lifestyle, you come back understanding more about yourself and what you want, because you spent actual time with yourself. And this is something that is so important, and it's really not praised or pushed upon us as it should be. In this society right now, if a woman says, well, I'm single, and then people are like, well, why don't you have a man? Oh, that is why you don't have a man. Oh, you need to be searching for a man. And the reality is, it's like, yeah, it's actually good she's single, because maybe she's not ready for a man. It doesn't mean like, oh, I'm doing all this so I can get ready to be a wife and to have children and all this. No, I'm doing all of this so I can actually know what I want out of life. I always say not everybody wants the same outcomes in life. I specifically talk to women who, date men who are successful and, want to be housewives or stay at home moms and all of this stuff. But that is not a lifestyle for everyone, and that is okay. Some women actually thrive being the breadwinner, and they need more of a supportive husband and not an alpha male. Every woman has different types of needs, and you will only know what you truly need and want if you take the time to figure it out on your own. And then you can come back like Persephone, as she became the queen of the underworld. She came back knowing who she was, and it was in total power of who she was, and was presenting herself in that way, where the underworld and this other side, this deep part of herself, turned her into the highest version of herself. She became a queen. She became, actual self-actualized, and lived in that. And I think that is important for all of us ladies to really understand that journey and go on it on our own. And it's important that you do this before you just look for a partner, someone to fill, because there are so many women who jump from relationship to relationship to relationship, and they don't realize that after every relationship, you lose a part of yourself. Because if you don't take the time to actually see who you are and know who you are and learn things about yourself, and you're just fitting into someone else's expectations of you from relationship to relationship to relationship, because each relationship is going to expect something different from you. It's going to expect you to give up a part of yourself so you can be here. And if you are in your pre-underworld Persephone archetype, you're going to just become a pick me. And pick me's get rolled over, pick me's get no respect, and pick me's actually are never truly happy. And that is what I want for all of you ladies, is to truly find what you desire and live it out. Right? And I can't tell you what you desire. I don't know what you want. Yeah, we may want similar things, but I would hope that we all have some parts of our wants and desires that are unique to each of us, and that they don't mimic other people's lives. And I think there's so many great things about social media, and then there's also horrible things about social media. But one of the things I don't like about social media is that it just gives way for copycatting. It gives way for people being inauthentic and people just doing things for views or for what looks good or clout chasing. And I, can admit, at a point in my life when I was in my 20s, I was all about that. I was all about, being in the best spots, showing up, look at my designers, look at this, look at that. Like, I'm living this kind of lifestyle. And then I took a step back. I got off of social media and I was like, what was that all about? Like, who was I trying to be? Who was I trying to impress? Who was I trying to show myself? Who am I? And when I asked myself that question, who am I? That is when the work truly happened, because I was like, I don't know, and I need to figure it out, because what I'm doing isn't helping me. It's just putting out an image that isn't true to who I am. And then that's when everything in my life started to change. And that is why it's important for all of you ladies who are in the point in your life where you're just like doing things just to do it and dating people just to date and just doing all of these things that don't really serve you and you don't have a purpose in it. And some people may say, I'm dating for marriage, but like, so many people don't even understand what marriage is. If you don't know yourself and you're not truly locked in on what you want, who you are, what you're about, you'll never be happy in marriage, because you have to give up so much of yourself in a marriage to gain partnership. And you have to be secure in who you are, that you don't give up the good stuff, that you don't give up the foundational stuff, that you don't give up the parts of you that are truly you, and that you're only giving up the superficial and the things that don't benefit you. I think that is a different kind of conversation, but it's definitely something that needs to be had about what marriage truly is and how it affects the woman. Because we think that, oh, okay, he gave me a ring and, I get to live this life and I get to do that. But if you don't know who you are, you're going to be miserable. Marriage isn't going to be fun, because there's tiny battles going on in marriage all the time, right? From minimal things to big things. And if you don't know who you are and can stand true into yourself, and you can actually lose yourself terribly in marriage, and so many people do, and it traumatized them to never want to get married again. But in actuality, it was because you didn't actually get to know who you were truly before you entered a union with someone else that was probably a little more self-actualized and actually knew who they were a little bit more than you, or they knew how to manipulate you enough to get you to see yourself in a way, in an image that they chose for you. And I think that that is important for you ladies to really dig deep. I do suggest this book because I feel like it has so much important information in it, and you can really get to learn about where you're at, where you're going, the patterns that you've made. Because funny enough, there's nothing new under the sun. Like we hold these archetypes, maybe some more than others, but I just know, like with Persephone specifically, she is the maiden, she is the young one, she is beautiful, she is the apple of her mother's eye, and she's under her mother's thumb, and she's just going through life with the expectations that her mother has placed on her. It wasn't until she was taken traumatically to the underworld that she was actually able to grow and figure things out really on her own, and figure out who she was and what she was about. And it takes that journey. It takes the journey within. It takes the journey of solitude, of being a hermit, of digging deep, of crying and accepting and forgiving, and all of these things that need to happen for each woman, because you don't want to go into anything in life if you don't feel inside that you're okay. And that is a state of being that a lot of people aren't in, no matter if they have, the nicest house, a great relationship, children, all of this stuff. If you're not happy within, none of that actually matters. And life is funny like that, because it's so temporary and you're only here for a limited amount of time. The time that you do have here is so important, and so many people waste it just trying to live up to the expectations of other people, or they waste it not even attempting to go after anything in life. And I don't want that for any of you ladies. I just want you to know that you are the director of your own life. You have the ability to rewrite the script, to recast the characters, to change the location. You have all of the control of your life, and it's up to you to actually figure out what it is that you want, to be at the point of your life where you want positive change to happen, and that you're willing to do it by all means necessary. And you're not afraid of the dark, and you're not afraid of the deep, and you're willing to take the journey if it's a journey to self. And I think that is very beautiful, very brave, very courageous, very confident. And you will see, once you do that, once you truly figure out and learn who you are, life becomes so much easier. It becomes easier to attract, to manifest, to have things work for your benefit. And when you live in the state of everybody else, you get nothing in return. I did write a couple of things down, and I want to leave you ladies with these questions to ask yourself. What makes you happy? What brings you pain? Why is the pain there? What brought it there? How can you get over it? What tools do you have access to help you deal with the pain? Who hurt you? Who did you hurt? What makes you beautiful? What makes you feel beautiful? How do you use your beauty? Who are you truly? How close are you to yourself? Ask yourself these questions and sit with them. Sit with these questions and ask them, not for you to get an immediate response, but really to sit with these questions and feel the response. And as always, if you need some one-on-one coaching and you want to work with me specifically, my information is in the description. And I am here for you ladies 100%, because more than, I want you to find the relationship of your dreams, I want you to find yourself. Because once you find yourself, relationships, money, opportunities, experiences, that comes easy. It's all very easy, but you have to go within first. And I'm here to help. So please reach out to me if you wish to work with me, and like this video, comment your ideas and how you feel about what we discussed today in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel. I love having deep conversations like this. I feel like I speak a little bit on the lighter side sometimes, and I just wanted to talk about something a little more deeper because I'm a very deep person, and these are the kind of conversations I have personally with friends and family and, people that I care about, and I care about all of you. So I wanted to just talk about that. And like I said, this isn't just for single women, but I know single women may have a little bit more time to take this journey. And especially you ladies who may be a little bit younger, I want you to understand, how you can get to the other side where you're a confident, beautiful woman who really embodies, her goddess energy and her femininity in a way that attracts the man of her dream, the life of her dream. And she is moving with confidence and courage and beauty. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.